Ladies and gentlemen, I announce the arrival of our Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Luc Mercelina. I ask that you please stand. Accompanying him will be the Honorable Minister Michel Brugge. And welcome to the 2025 commemoration ceremony of the National Remembrance Day. I am Giselle York, your Mistress of Ceremony, and on behalf of the Government of St. Martin, I hereby bid you a warm welcome. Every year on May 4th, we remember all civilians and military personnel who have been killed or murdered fighting for the interests of the Kingdom of the Netherlands, or anywhere else in the world in war situations or during peacekeeping operations since the outbreak of the Second World War. This year's theme, which is established by the National Committee in the Netherlands, is 80 Years of Freedom, as the year 2025 marks 80 years since the ending of World War II. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Javier Marlin, student of the Milton Peters College and current first vice chairman of the Youth Parliament, who will cite the poem from the book A Different Stick of Fire, World War II in the Caribbean, Fragments of a Forgotten Legacy. This is written by Dr. Mulberry X. Dorf Pantoflet. The book indicates that the Caribbean region, including St. Martin, has its own authentic and compelling war-related narratives to tell. Overseas territories and colonial rulers alike were both up against a common enemy who could only be defeated with combined efforts. In that respect, the legacy of the World War II is a shared legacy. The poem is entitled Imagine, Behind the Names on the Plaque.
One thing all heroes have in common is that at birth, no one can foresee that one day they would be proclaimed heroes and play compelling roles in history. The names on the monument on the blazing sun were placed there together because they had all become victims of one and the same aggressor. Different names, different backgrounds, with different goals in life, but none of them ever asked to be a victim or a sacrifice. Highlighting the two names on the Caribbean young men, Ekery and Maduro, brings to light what it means to be a true hero. Imagine one young man of color and full of life on an island in the Dutch Caribbean, one day leaving his friends and family behind in order to search for higher education. Imagine his ambitions took him to the Netherlands, just like lots of young people today, where suddenly a war broke out, forcing him to choose between get away and stay. Ask yourself the question, what would I have done? Caught up in a country occupied by the enemy, with no near home circle to depend on. Imagine a Jewish boy leaving the Caribbean and moving to the Netherlands at the age of 10, when after studying there for years, a world war breaks out all of a sudden. Ask yourself the question, what would have been my reaction? Retreat fearfully and lay low, or rise to the occasion?
I hereby invite Pathfinder, Ms. Mariah Stewart, to read an excerpt written by Mrs. Bosch. The passage describes her personal emotions and experiences during World War II.
For me and thousands of my family members and offspring of the war victims, there will always be an emptiness, a feeling of loss and sorrow for those beloved persons that were so abruptly taken from us. I was not even 2 years old when my father, a civil servant who played an important part in the resistance in his town and able to save many lives, was betrayed and taken away from home, leaving my pregnant mother and me behind, never to be seen again. He died in 1945 in the death camp in Germany, 9 days before it was liberated by the Americans, never knowing that he had a new baby girl, my sister. With our mother's passing later, there was a loss that we even feel today. No monuments, street name, medals, and other ways of honoring him could soften the pain. So, we grew up, really knowing and experiencing that freedom comes with a hefty price, that we should not take it for granted, and follow where and when we can in footsteps of those righteous and brave people that dare to stand up against oppression and discrimination, and did their part for justice, equality, and human rights, for their fellow men regardless their race, religion, and nationality. For today, let us honor the victims of all wars and violence, feel blessed that we live in sweet St. Martin land, solve disputes with words and not with violence, and pledge that we will work on a better and safer society, where all lives matter and are respected and protected. Then those persons who are on this war memorial and all those million others did not die in vain. These are the words of Ms. El Shabash.
.24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
At its core, the ALF agency's operational function focuses on building upon our transformative vision. The agency will be established as an autonomous body, a zelfstandig bestuursorgaan, ZBO, under the oversight of the Ministry of TIAD. We are actively exploring support, funding through the temporary work group and have developed a preliminary business case to ensure the agency operates within a sustainable framework. A central function of the ALF agency will be to protect consumers and support local producers by setting competitive market prices and enforcing rigorous food security standards by ensuring that all locally produced goods meet both national and international quality benchmarks. We safeguard public health and build consumer trust in the food supply. Also, the core objective is to reduce our dependencies on import and stabilize the supply of essential foods. The agency will produce and distribute produce directly from local producers. This integrated supply chain management will guarantee consistent access to fresh, locally sourced items for the retailers and institutions. It will also empower our local farmers and empowering our local farmers and fishers is at the heart of the agency's operation. We will implement targeted programs to offer technical training, distribute essential farming inputs, and provide access to financial support. These measures will elevate production efficiencies and encourage innovation across the agricultural sector. Recognizing that community engagement is essential is essential to resilience. The agency will spearhead public education campaigns to promote the benefits of local agriculture and healthy eating. Additionally, the agency will develop robust emergency food plans to ensure that vulnerable populations have access to essential food supplies during crisis. Finally, the ALF agency will act as a catalyst for local and regional market integration. It will serve as the intermediary between market traders, such as vendors, supermarkets, etc., facilitating smoother interactions between producers, vendors, and supermarkets and consumers. By promoting regional trade partnerships, the agency will expand the island's distribution channels and commercial reach. This function will not only strengthen the value chain, but also drive local economic growth, enhancing our food ecosystem across borders. In essence, this operational blueprint outlines a comprehensive approach. With its proposed autonomous structure, the ALF agency will ensure high standards in markets regulation, build resilient supply chain, and empower local producers and integrate locals and regional market. Each element is designated to transform our agricultural landscape, paving the way for a more resilient and more prosperous future for St. Martin. Next, we want to give, through you, Mr. Chairman, the members of Parliament, an update on the goals of the E6 program, which most of the projects are being funded and supported by. So there are about 10 goals. So under the broader E6 economic reform framework, the Ministry of TIAD is spearheading a set of targeted initiatives designed to modernizing our economy, empower entrepreneurship, and foster sustainable development. These efforts are rooted in the principles of resilience, transparency, and inclusive growth, and the following priorities guide our action plan. First one is the digitization and centralization of licenses and tax system. We are working to streamline and centralize all license process under TIAT. In parallel, we are digitizing tax payment systems to ensure efficiency, transparency, and ease of doing business, especially for micro and small entrepreneurs. Second one is a clear online process for startups. A user-friendly online platform will soon provide a comprehensive overview of how to start and scale a business in St. Martin. Complementing this is the development of a dedicated startup scale-up policy to reduce red tape and encourage innovation. Then under the E6, we are strengthening the entrepreneurial ecosystem. By enhancing the entrepreneurial ecosystem by collaborating with key stakeholders like the World Bank. Our plan includes the implementation of a business incubator via the Investment Promotion Agency to support early stage business and attract investors. Then under the E6, we also have access to knowledge, skills, and workforce matching. So entrepreneurs will benefit from improved access to training, mentorship, and business development service. A new framework is being built to align workforce capacity and business needs, ensuring the entrepreneurs have the skills labor. And then also interministerial collaboration, effective business regulation depend on seamless coordination. TIAT is also working closely with VRAMI and Fiscal Affairs to eliminate bottlenecks and ensure regulatory process that are efficient and business friendly. And then we have 6, a comprehensive economic development plan. We're also formulating a national economic development plan that will serve as a roadmap for sustainable, inclusive growth over the next decade and align with E6's long-term vision. Then a carrying capacity and sustainable growth. In line with the sustainable goals, we're also undertaking studies to measure the island's economic carrying capacity, ensuring that development balances growth with quality of life and environmental protection. And also the number 8, access to finance for key sectors. Through partnerships and upcoming reforms, we are launching Access to Finance program with a focus on agriculture with potential expansion into fisheries, tourism, and technology. And this is crucial to enabling self-sufficient and reducing food import costs. 9, tax incentives for local entrepreneurs. We're also drafting targeted tax incentives to stimulate local entrepreneurs, encouraging reinvestment and reward innovations across priority. And lastly, under the E6, establishing a tourism satellite account to better qualify the true contribution of the tourism to GDP. We are developing a tourism satellite account, and this will enable more data-driven policy making and investment planning in our top earning sector. So the E6 initiatives represents a comprehensive approach to economic empowerment through agriculture and focusing on creating sustainable systems that benefit local communities while building resilience against external shocks. Now we will go into the projects that are ongoing, mostly under the E6 projects. The Ministry of TIAD continues to advance the development of agriculture sector through a combination of ongoing research, strategic projects, and targeted capacity building programs. These are the agriculture sector study. So a comprehensive study of the agriculture sector is ongoing, supported by additional research projects that are either underway or set to commence shortly. Study on the type of food that is imported to gauge what foods the community purchase, and to also get an overview of what the input is. And we're looking to mainly get this through the ASECUDA program. ASECUDA. Hydroponics Train the Trainer project. In this year, 9 hydroponic system has been installed at 9 schools across the island. 4 Catholic schools, so 2 at both St. Dominic School, Sister Borges School, Sister Martha and Sister Regina. Then the Martin Luther King School, St. Sundial, and SDA, which is a 7-day Adventist school, and Christian Hillside as well. Each system supports the growth of approximately 300 plants, including crops such as arugula, lettuce, basil, parsley, cabbage, and peppers. The initiative also includes the establishment of Seedling Development Center to support crop propagation. And more than 20 teachers, school staffs, and community members have already been trained in the hydroponic farming techniques. Another ongoing project, is the Agri-Loan Program. This is a financing facility for agricultural development, has been officially approved with a formal launch expected in June 2025. It is a microfinancing loan at 2% interest rate. The lowest they can have is $5,000 up to $50,000. And it caters to 10 farmers and 10 fishermen, with the condition that they complete a training focused on the business component for farming and fisheries. Also important to note that while it is up to 20 persons might qualify for the loan, the training, however, will be available for 75 persons over a two-year period. Another one is the Agriculture Research Project. The tendering process has been completed under the Lance Paquette framework, with country packet framework, with project selection currently underway. So these research includes a well study. We have 18 wells, some of them are dry, and to find out what the quality of water is and to probably make it affordable for farmers. Establish a digital database to store the ALF-related data to be able to track development production. And also farm to supermarkets, if there is a market for it, quality, and to have maybe the quality of the products and gauge the public's response to maybe buying these products locally.
it's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise, yachting, and boating ports, renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
I took note that the card will, well, the bank account will only be accessible in St. Martin and Curacao. Would this mean that if you travel internationally, debit card will not work in the ATMs? If so, I do believe that this should be looked into. Even though it's a basic bank account, when you travel, you're definitely gonna need to have access to your funds. My second question is also pertaining to international purchases, online shopping, etc. I see some head shaking, so I guess that means no. If not, I do believe this needs to be looked into. A lot of items are sourced online, etc. You could not have a formal job, but you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to find your way through different online platforms to purchase services, goods, etc. So I'd like a clarification on that.
What is the percentage of local residents, so residents, that do not have a bank account? What type of jobs do these locals have? And it's a sum up to why I'm asking this question. What type of jobs do they have? And it comes back to the amount that is allowed on this account, 3,000 guilders, which is roughly $1,666.67. That doesn't seem to be a great amount per month that could be actually stored on the bank. So the question would also be, how was this amount determined and why that amount?
I would like to bring forward in regards to this legislation is the following. I understood that it will be a basic right for the people of St. Martin, the consumers, to have a bank account. But what I'm currently seeing is that the banks can still deny persons to have a bank account. So how does the legislation in connection to the bank being entitled to decide, okay, I want you as a client or not. How does that match with each other? And what if, for example, a relationship with one bank was ended and a consumer would like to have a relationship by another bank, and that bank is not granting the consumer to have a bank account? How will the government guarantee that everyone will be able to have that bank account? And then especially in connection with the laws in regards to the banks being able to decide, okay, I want you or I want you not. So that's a very important question that I would like to have answered, so that the consumer and also the banks are aware of how that will work once this legislation is in full effect. Other than that, I currently am aware of the situation that persons that have been convicted, their bank account is being closed off, and they are having difficulties opening up a bank account because the bank relationship with one bank is ended, and then they're looking to bank with the other bank, but that information is passed on, and then they find themselves in a position that they cannot open a bank account. I read the articles that are mentioned in the law, money laundering, for example, bedrog en valsheid in geschrift. But I'm seeing that currently, at least, that persons that are not convicted of those facts are still being penalized, that the accounts will be closed. So how will government play a role making sure that that does not take place? And also, is there an alternative for those that have been convicted? Because I saw that the law states for the past 8 years. So if you have been convicted, if you have done something wrong, it can be falsifying a document, or finding yourself in a position that you find yourself in the hands of the law, and this is one of those 3 articles. That would mean that for the coming 8 years, you cannot open a bank account. So how will you function in the society if that is the case? So is there other alternative for those people? Other than that, it's mentioning every resident will be able to have an account. What I would like to know, the ones that are currently, and I know it's not for business owners, but I just would like to have the question answered. For the business owners that are currently not able to open a business account, are those business owners able to open a consumer account under that amount?